going to see the majority of the time. We saw some second pick choices yesterday. I was not a big fan of that, regardless of their strategies. As let's get into it, because it's very awesome to see, all the teams get their chance to play their first match on stage. As I'm getting word, there is a slight
you were building
issue.
it up so well. It was like, this is Valdez's moment where he's like, we're going to set the stakes of this draft. These players are finally taking the stage. Kanavi's playing first LCK match in GTG Glove Park. And then, we'll have a little bit of a...
Well, Wolf, you're no stranger to pauses.
No, apparently it's like...
Whenever Wolf is on, it's... We got problems.
Yeah, we got pauses. I was not...
Because Wolf is actually the head technician, and when he's up here casting instead, things kind of go awry.
The one crazy... you remember when we had the DDoS stuff? I mean, that was probably the craziest pause meta of all time. The game that had to be, delayed before we decided for a while we were going to have pre-recorded. I wasn't there for that day. That's, the biggest pause I've dodged. And to be honest, I was pretty thankful for it. Although, watching the game at home... it's your day off, but you still got to lock in. I was kind of like, when do I need to lock in? Should I go for a run? I'm not sure. All right, well, no DDoS, no issues here. The draft is remade. So as you were saying.
We did have the timer kind of bouncing around there, but this is going to be the first time these two teams hit the Rift for LCK Cup. And Malphite is going to be the first ban. I just think that... especially these two teams are going to be a couple of the teams that have fantastic preparation. They know exactly what they want to ban. There's not a lot of wiggle room, even in a new meta, as they have put in a ton of practice. And so far, it's just a lot of very high prio OP stuff that's getting banned away.
The Malphite ban very early here for HLE. No intent to pick that, as Unara will get banned away from FaZe. I think that is incredibly warranted. His laning phase has been so incredibly powerful. It's he and Keria who were able to consistently generate leads against Guma and Delight that won them the Kespa Cup finals. And see what this first pick is going to be as 280 carries are taken away. Zeus will get his hands on the Rumble. Sometimes the more things change, the more they stay the same. As this Rumble pick has been so relevant, feels like for 3 years now, and has always been a safe, blind top pick.
Yeah, same for Rise nowadays. Just feels like you can't go wrong with this, especially in the hands of Faker, who has multiple cinematics where he is Rise. Rise and Pantheon, definitely a lot of CC and lockdown already.
The Wukong we did see earlier today instead of the Vi, we talked about Vi could have been better in that scenario, is going to be picked up this time for Kanavi, considering Silas for Zeka is one of his best picks, but he will ultimately go with the Taliyah. So they have Taliyah, Vi Rumble, really strong top side here. The Pantheon is an incredibly powerful flex in this draft here for T1, who do have the global of the Rise as well. So they're winning in terms of map presence, but only slightly for the moment. See if a high-profile 80 carry pick comes through here to keep things a little bit open-ended, or if they're going to go for a counter pick for Doran. It's like that Ambessa, we talked about for Shu as a potential pick. Will this time you go through for Doran? Now, it could still be a flex, of course.
Yeah. Double flex could happen. Rel going to be banned away here. I was wondering if maybe we would see something like an Ezreal, especially into that Vi, but not going to be proud picked at least. They're going to take away Rel from Delight. Certainly a fantastic amount of hard engage that can kind of set everything up alongside of the Vi for the Taliyah and Rumble to do the damage. And of course it is Delight, one of his favorite picks.
Let's see. I mean, the Ezreal seems so incredibly safe here. And it is something that FaZe has already showcased very early on in his time on this roster that he is incredibly proficient on. And we'll see the Rel taken away, which is kind of niche right now in this meta, but really suits the draft that Hanwha Esports have together. Same with the Nautilus. And so taking away point and click CC for that safe 80 carry that FaZe will be playing, whether it is the Ezreal or something else. Zeri, for example, still could be relevant here. And the Bard was taken away in terms of ranged push. Maybe they go for a Karma ban as well if that's what they're most concerned about. They'll take away Paze's Aphelios. I remember Guma's first penta on Aphelios so many years ago. I think it was even against D plus Kia at the time. I think in 2021. He's not going to be playing at this game. He'll take it away from Paze, his successor here on T1. And will it be Ezreal or will it be the Lucian pushing lane with Braum available? I mean, it still could be support Pantheon. We're going to find out everything in just a moment with that 5th pick. And this is how you use that 5th counter pick as T1 to the fullest of his potential.
Especially because, you know, all of them can play whatever champ that you are flexing. Thinking about the Corki here has definitely been very powerful as, you know, a first game and fearless kind of pick. It can go essentially with anything. It spikes really hard on 2 items. And it's just a strong pick nowadays. Doesn't necessarily need a specific support, although they could pick up the Nami.
Nico available, and that has historically been one of the strongest lanes that you could go for here. Delight's no stranger to the pick. The Nami has been more standard. The Alistar gives you a really strong front line that I think they pretty desperately need if they're going to look for late game team fights into this draft here for T1. It is going to not be the lane power that I think they're expecting us. This is a throwback. Okay. Well, it will be Pantheon going to the jungle here, the Ambessa top, and the Milio to give some extended range and lane power to this Lucian. Definitely not as common as some of the other picks we could have seen here. And it is going to be not that useful in terms of ult here either into this draft. I mean, there are some CCs you could absorb, but just really going to be looking for some additional range here for Pays. And it's one of those niche support picks that really says the AD carry is the main character. We are drafting through winning this lane. We are drafting through mid-game spikes and an insane lead going into the late game. Kind of like Yuumi, but a little bit different in this case.
Yeah, for sure. I think that, especially with that extra range, and nowadays the Lucian building Essence Reaver as it has been changed back, I think that they have tried to find an angle to make Lucian kind of the main character, as you were alluding to. And this is certainly one of the ways to do it. You've also got Milio, who is ranged into Alistar, which can give Pays a little bit of extra room in that lane up against Guma and Delight. So very curious to see how this one is going to go down. The drafts have been selected, and we're getting ready to jump onto the Rift here for game number 1 of T1 versus Hanwha Esports. Somebody extra tried to get in on that that fan chant.
Sound like Junke was leading it. I'm not even 100% sure if that's accurate or not, but
I think it was just one of the staff like normal, but one of the fans was also doing the Hana Dursit, and I was like, oh, I guess you can do that if you want.
It's against formality.
It's not the meta,
yeah,
you could say. It's like picking Teemo.
Some fan groups would be very upset about that in older fan chant metas. So I think the identity difference here is we will have a little bit of a trade. Barrier popped, perfectly timed. The identity of these comps is really interesting because today we've had in our first series like scaling kind of in a little bit more frontline favored drafts into, you know, the draft that looks for single target pick. The single target pick is there for Hanwha in this draft, but they did end up with the Alistar. T1 is kind of tempo based, and it has a really nice, well-rounded ending to the late game if it gets ahead, especially with the third item actualizer for Faker. So much damage that he can have with that. The side lane power of this Rise is also going to be a big threat. And Hanwha Esports need to be able to consistently pick off side lane targets and set up this Vi for success if they're going to be able to win this one. Not that they don't have any scaling and they still have pick potential later on in the game, but it does feel like if they fall behind, it becomes a little bit more tough to execute their composition.
Yeah, it certainly does feel that way, as already the bottom lane going pretty well for the Milio and the Lucian, as we did expect. The runes, kind of what you would expect as well. Curious to see how Doran's going to do on the Ambessa up against the Rumble. Did see that she had an opportunity to pick that in game 1 up against Dudu's Rumble in our first match, but elected not to. To go for the Gasante instead, to try to just, you know, not die. But in this case, it is going to be Doran who's going to be fighting fire with fire up there in the top lane.
I do have in the bottom lane still control. You have a little bit of extra sustain with Milio, but that's not really what this is about. The heal could probably remove it from his kit and it would, it would still be played for the same reasons. But you can see that they're chipping away. And it's a slight CS lead that is given here, but slight CS advantages aren't going to be what gets you the huge quest advantage that wins you the game. We'll have to see some jungle attention down there if they want to further anything. Scuttles are traded. And no incidents on the Rift just yet.
Yeah, no mistakes is another way to put it. Nobody really getting out of position or doing anything crazy.
A plate, perhaps?
Perhaps.
May have. Indeed.
There you go, Pace. Picking up all of that money. And Doran certainly fighting fire with fire. I think, you know, definitely a good idea for Hanwha Life Esports Rumble in this meta. Very strong. You pick it first for Zeus, a guy who can take over lanes. And we'll see how he does, as Doran has been generally good against Zeus in these lanes that we have seen historically.
Yeah, that has been, he's kind of been Zeus' kryptonite a lot of the time on other rosters.
So we're just kind of running at him. He's just going to flash away, as now we got the Pantheon here. Doran's still pretty low as they're going all in for it, and he does get the first blood, but Kanavi is going to take a turret shot and has to flash away. Owner did have to flash in to save his top laner, so just a trade at the end of the day.
The kill going over to the Rumble, but the assist gold going over to Doran, so you could argue both sides feeling okay with the exchange. Maybe feeling better if you can get Faker, but he does have phase rush. And
kind of an insane dodge. Did you see that? Yeah. The Q from the Vi just went behind him and Faker just stepped forward. Not what you would expect.
It's like he did a Dark Souls roll.
It did look like that. It was crazy. It was last second, too. It almost looked like Kanavi pulled it short or something, but I think it was just a dodge from Faker. Delight tries to go in for these trades, but I don't think you're really ever winning that, at least this early on.
It's like you have to use your health, though. Otherwise, they get more damage to the turret. They get more plate value. You have to kind of just sacrifice your health to try to stem the bleeding. It feels a lot of the time. And if you do have Unsealed as teleport, oftentimes that doesn't even feel that bad. But they will be able to sink their backs here now. So watch this one more time. Kanavi's engaged here. Doran has flash, so fairly optimistic. Does flash the knock up there, but or the Q, but does end up getting the damage from the Rumble in from the tank, and it's a trade of kills. The Rumble picking up the gold means that maybe he could try to further this advantage or further an advantage later on. He is behind in experience at the moment, did opt for that Ignite, as Rumble doesn't use the shield that well.
Yeah. And certainly going to help him get even farther ahead in the lane if he's able to utilize it here. Saw Owner kind of dodge out of the bush from the missile right before they were going for the dive. It almost looked like they didn't think that Kanavi was there, and he wanted to try to set up kind of a 2v1 if Zeus was going to go for the one-on-one dive, but ended up being a little bit late and had to flash in to try to save the play. So one of those small little things that did happen. Faker is trying to gank top, and Zeus does not have flash. So
yeah, I mean, this Realm Warp play could absolutely work.
Trying to bait him in. There's the Realm Warp, and an easy lineup for Doran to set it up, and Faker with the gank in the top lane. Zeus trying to turn it here on the Doran. It's not going to happen, and Doran even gets given the kill on top of it all, so a very nice setup there from Faker.
And Zeka doesn't even have a crashing wave here into the mid lane. Faker loses very little for this. Just his ultimate is all that he expends. Zeka does not match the rotation. It's just a little bit too slow for the Weaver's Wall. And I mean, I don't want to chalk this up. I mean, he does get a plate ultimately here. It's not like he got nothing, but definitely not equivalent. I don't want to chalk this moment up to Taliyah being bad. We just are seeing Taliyah's kind of late to the play so far here at LCK Cup. Just not able to actually make those early Weaver's Wall plays successful thus far.
Trying to go in once again for a trade. Pace and Carrier will take that every time of the week, but this time Kanavi is here with flash and ults available. As now the Pantheon coming in, Owner trying to make a play to help them out, but Guma and Delight had already essentially disengaged, so not much going on there, but it's still going to be a good trade here for Pace and Carrier. This is, you know, essentially what we expected with the duos and the draft, the way it did go, and that last pick, counter pick, essentially being held for Carrier. One of the best guys to give it to, I would say.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, they are really running this bottom side. Owner gonna have a jump scare on him taking out those Raptors, but he was not able to get in there and get any kills for them, but was able to match Kanavi's rotation and is kind of impacting both sides of the map at the same time. Comes over there, covers for them, allows them to grab that second plate. And this is just, unfortunately for Hanwha Esports, bit of a deficit, but nothing that they cannot overcome by any means here in this game. Nobody's died in the bottom side of the map. It's not like they've lost this turret or anything. There's not been crazy dives that they've failed to defend. And so the game does continue at a relatively even state.
Yeah. That's the thing when you get teams of this caliber, is that you're not going to see gigantic mistakes most of the time, and you're not going to see big swings early on. We've been seeing a lot of big swings early on, actually, before coming into this one, where teams get 2,000 gold ahead at 7 minutes and stuff like that. But essentially, it's just going to be slight lane leads and gold leads, or the lanes you would expect them in.
And speaking of, I mean, the Rumble still has that lead topside. And so Kanavi, knowing that Owner used his ultimate on the bottom side of the map and cannot come over and match him there, takes the Grubs out in a very decisive way there, gets all three, so denies some side lane power here to T1, as well as bolstering some of their own. Not the strongest side lane composition, but Grubs are always important. Even impact what you can do after a team fight. It might be the difference whether you get a mid turret or not. So pretty big win here for Hanwha Esports, who already had that first dragon in the pocket. So a pretty insanely close game, and I'm happy for it, because we've had, like you said, a lot of games that have been blown open wide early on. Now, some late dragon contests that haven't worked out, some lane disasters, some solo kills in the mid lane. This is just good old classic LCK.
Yeah, sitting back, relaxing. Can bro and brew, even though they're not in this series, I suppose. As we do have Owner bot once again, and that means that Kanavi has an angle here at the top lane.
Doran's flash is back.
He does have his flash. He is going to use his ult to actually get away from the Vi, and still just holds on to his flash the whole time until the equalizer comes down. And he took that little bit of extra damage at the beginning and the burn, and that means he is just dead.
If he doesn't get hit by the equalizer, he's definitely fine there. It might have even been able to help Faker continue to push there. So Faker's just going to use his Realm Warp there to the top side and catch the wave and deny any sort of further play or follow-up onto Doran. The ult was phenomenal, but unfortunately the equalizer does catch him. And as a result, it's going to be Zeus who ends up picking up a second kill here. Faker grabs some plate gold on the top side, so the timing of this ult here for Doran is phenomenal, as he can essentially just completely juke the Vi ultimate with it, gets his shield, and then the equalizer is just perfectly placed. Not really on Doran in this one. Probably shouldn't have flashed after getting hit by it, but at the end of the day, now his flash is down, and he dies.
Yeah. Could have definitely flashed as it was coming down, just barely able to dodge that first tick of damage, but unfortunately was not expecting it. It was kind of a weird, the way it all did play out. As Pace just going to hold the wave here in front of his turret. Going to make things even more painful. You see the CS numbers are exactly the same between him and Guma, but the gold difference is pretty large, as Pace has picked up some plate gold.
Yeah, that is the reason. And the Essence Reaper is done. This is where T1 want to live, is in the tempo lead, right? They have the advantage, and they're going to try to push it here top side.
Now, Owner's going in. No public execution here for Doran, but he's still going to exist under this turret. They're going to wait for the redive, as the spear is going to miss, and now Doran's going back in. They're missing everything, as they can just wait for another spear, and hopefully that gets the job done. But no, the shield is going to save him as well, and eventually Owner says, enough with it, I'll just get it done. It's a light dive in the turret, and he's going to go down. As we got Melio protecting Pace, he flashes away. There's so much pressure on the bottom side of the map, and I think eventually they should get this done, as Kanavi's getting low, but they still get the kill, and they get it over to Zeka's Talia.
A little bit sloppy on both sides here, but ultimately it is going to be a trade 2 for 2. Across the map. Faker will be one of the extra benefactors here of some plate gold in mid. Did not have his Realm Warp available to affect the bottom side play. I was pretty shocked that this all goes down the way it does so quickly. It's so forced, right? They want to try to get the most value out of this Gatling gun here for Guma. They put the damage on the Pays. And then the Weaver's Wall just doesn't happen. It's like still not happening. Finally comes out here, but Delight has gone in so early. That's a bit disjointed. Pace's flash is fantastic there, but ultimately against 3, as best as he tries, he's not going to be able to trade one back. Somebody fix that quirky Gatling bug down. That's been going on for a while. Was that affecting the spacer? There's another Realm Warp gank.
Yeah, and it looks like Zeus once again in a lot of trouble. No flash, no way for him to get out of this one. Just ults the wave. Nearly actually takes out Faker, but all calculated in the end.
I mean,
Faker's just living in the top lane.
He embodies Rise as a person, and you'd mentioned the cinematics already, but he's basically just Realm Warping on cooldown. And again, into the top lane, he went Ghost. It feels like this meta is made for Faker to have that early Rise pick and play through a side lane. And so far, working decently for them. They don't have the same gold lead they had before, and it is a 2 Drake lead here for Hanwha Esports. They do have those grubs, but that is going to be the first turret to go over to this Ambessa, and still an incredibly close game. If it was a different Soul here, if it was Infernal Soul, you'd feel a lot better as Hanwha Esports. The Ocean is not worthless by any means, but doesn't feel as big of a prize as it could have been.
That's certainly going to be something to look at if they do eventually get that Ocean Soul. Can help a little bit against, like a culling and stuff like that, but a lot of the damage from T1 will be committal, as this is the setup, just a straight up, old-fashioned from the river Realm Warp, and Zeus just doesn't have flash, so he's just dead.
Yeah. And Zeka was trying to control the bottom brush with control vision and was pretty far away. Faker took his opportunity to roam up and find that Realm Warp angle. And so that is that. Gold lead now up to 1,200 here for T1. As that turret goes over. Vandal Pipes built here for Delight, as we do have Shurelias instead of any of the healing tech. And they could have gone for here, which I do like, because speeding up this composition will definitely make it a lot more potent, and they can snowball a lot better with it. Essence Reaver, no longer an item advantage over Guma, but still incredibly strong at this moment in time for Pays. Dead even in gold, really, between these bottom laners, but the spike is there for Pays. Guma's going to come online a little bit later. Yeah. When he gets that second item.
Still props to Guma and Delight just being able to get out of what is a very annoying lane for the early parts of the game, and then eventually hopefully scaling up to see exactly what Corki can do. As we do have, well, we had Kanavi. Oh no, he's going to stick around actually. Maybe thinking about going in onto Doran, as Owner is nearby and ulting in, as it's just going to be a straight up 2v2. The equalizer pretty good, but not good enough. As ends up being just Owner getting there first, landing the CC, and unfortunately Kanavi couldn't do much after his lane mate died.
Yeah, I mean, Owner shot first, and that's the end of the exchange there. Just cannot win it alone. First him down so quick. This is that Essence Reaver, and it hits.
Got to be careful when he doesn't have his Alistair nearby. Looking for the knockback here on Akaria. It's going to get him to use his ult at the end of the day.
Now, it was actually a lot committed to defend there, but it is successful. And, the ultimate there from Keria comes out, but you could really feel this Milio-Lucian combo at work here in these razor-thin margins where Delight just isn't quite there to peel. And he's like, I'm going in, I've got barrier, and I will just push Guma out of the lane. Shove this wave through. Doesn't get a kill, but man, they have a lot of silent pressure. Look at the top wave. Bottom wave was controlled again by T1. As Doran is like the target. Man, get that Gatling gun out of here. Thanks, Fearless. Anyway, you see the ultimate comes through from Owner, as you already pointed out. You basically explained this already. They strike first. That Gatling gun on silent mode, man. It's a theater in here trying to.
Well, they do have 2 items now for Pays, as he gets the Navori Flicker Blades, and now the Lucian even stronger. Was already strong, but just item by item, especially because Guma has not finished his Muramana and is pretty far away from doing so. They bait him in though. Pays in a lot of trouble as he flashes and he still dies. And even with Owner coming in, not able to save him. The TP not ending up doing too much, but at least pushes Doran away.
Let's see what choice they make here now, because the Herald has spawned. Dragon's up in 25, but it's not up yet, so this is kind of awkward. They get a really nice punish here, but what can they use it for? I mean, the gold itself is really nice. Pulling that Lucian off the map is going to give them pride. It looks like they're looking for Soul Point here. Let's see if T1 opt to match, because Faker does not have teleport. Obviously, he took the Ghost, and he doesn't have his Realm Warp. He's still in the area. As this is a really razor-thin margin that Hanwha Esports had as Pace is running over, and it looks like they will just get this Dragon here. Owner looking for potential contest.
Yeah, we'll have to just wait and see if they go for the fight afterwards. Doesn't look like Owner's going to be able to do much there. As the equalizer's great in the choke. Owner puts up the shield, but immediately dies afterwards. So a little bit of a bonus treat for Hanwha Esports on top of the Dragon as they pick up the enemy jungler as well.
This is a huge win for Hanwha Esports. They get the soul point, they get the kill on the jungler who's just, trying to see if he can get a spear steal and is unfortunately just a little bit too close to the sun. Doran will be able to avoid this shove, so he's going to be totally fine. But T1 with the recall timers are going to try to rush down this Herald despite not having a jungler, and it looks like it's going to work out for them. There's no vision on this either. As we go back into this, FaZe steps forward here. Kanavi off vision. And they had control vision in the river. They thought that was enough, but the engage range of the Vi a little bit higher than I think FaZe calculated there. So he ends up going down, and this leads to a Dragon take. Now T1 look for an optimistic contest. Like, is there an angle here? Not really. Owner drops the spear. It gets dropped on by Delight. And there's just too much CC here. Puts up his shield, but can only delay the inevitable.
Yeah. Delight's Alistar. They banned the Rel, they banned the Nautilus, but the Alistar comes out. They work their way through lane, and now he's just going to be a menace the entire game. He offers that front line, also offers another source of engage alongside of the Vi. And a very safe one at that because, of course, it is Alistar. So, bit of a back and forth in terms of the gold difference over time, but now we're very much even in this game in terms of gold. Hanwha Esports, though, with 3 Drakes plus 3 of the Void Grubs, does mean it feels like they are slightly ahead at this point.
What I think about most right now is what can Faker get done in the next 3 minutes and 20 seconds, right? Because he has the Actualizer as his third item, likely. We've seen a few different variants, but probably will build it. And of course, those Rod of Ages ticks will come through here in just under 4 minutes time, and then he'll get an extra level. And he's going to be a big secondary damage threat because FaZe no longer ahead in gold, but still feels like he's ahead in terms of his power level right now over Guma. A lot can go wrong. Obviously, you can overstep and get caught in the mid lane, as we saw just moments before. But T1 do have this rise to kind of round things out. But one more lost team fight. The Ocean Soul goes over, and it starts to feel like Hanwha Esports kind of have this game in their hands. They can control the map with the amount of control they'll get from said team fight. And side laning becomes a lot easier with that Ocean Soul. And then maybe Faker's win con doesn't necessarily come online. They're going to go ahead and drop this Herald down now and look for mid turret. A lot of members of Hanwha Esports here, and the potential wall for the deny.
Yeah, Cullen comes through, there's the wall, and it is going to be timed, actually. Okay, well,
not quite as good as what we saw earlier.
I guess he was scared to actually hit the turret, Like, he saved it, he didn't allow it to run into the wall, so he's going to keep HLE here for a little bit longer, but he's not going to do what we saw earlier from Career and actually ram it into the turret.
Ultimately, a successful defense here for Hanwha Esports. They don't even get the Crystalline Overgrowth proc on the turret. Hanwha handling that very well. And it's just Faker going straight back to sides up on the top side of the map. And this Lucian is no longer able to just walk up and kill pressure Guma. Like, he can trade with him, and the Muramana will transform soon. But if he goes too far forward, he's already been caught once. He will see Kanavi on this ward. We'll think twice about pushing up any further. But now, Hanwha Esports have stabilized. The 2-item spikes here for the Corki. Guma's probably sitting on a decent amount of money. He's backing right now. And this game gets a lot more interesting from here. T1, I think, did not quite get enough out of the lead that they had in the tempo advantage. And I think it all comes down to that pick onto Pace where he kind of got baited in. That might be one of the moments that T1 look back at as kind of the table-turning moment for Hanwha Esports.
Yeah, you can see there's a ward there now.
Yep.
That spot that Kanavi came out of. But at the end of the day, just, again, that slight lead for HLE, and they're going to be looking for this Ocean Soul in 1 minute. Even going to steal some of the Raptors, continue to put on some vision pressure over here. There is nice 1 ward of vision in the river for T1.
And if you're playing Rise with no teleport, obviously with home guards, you can get back to sides quickly, but you have to play so defensively. Look at how careful Faker is right now on the bottom side when all this vision control is there for Hanwha Esports. He doesn't want to push up and try to kill that turret because Kanavi could be lurking, and in fact he was. If you die there and you don't have TP, you can't get back to the Dragon fight, so he just has to kind of sit back, catch the waves. He is on the opposite side of the fight now, and they have cleared some of that vision. This very well may be the game-deciding fight here if Hanwha win it decisively. As T1 need to be very careful about this setup. All summoners up. Flash for everyone on the Rift.
Well, you were just talking about this, but this time T1 are here for Faker. And they're in the river first, which means that Kanavi can't overextend into that. We got the Realm Warp. They're trying to fight, actually, as Guma is going to Valkyrie into the wall. And now they engage here on a Kanavi. It feels like HLE not exactly playing together, but a nice knockback here on the Owner. And it feels like maybe they just got poked out a little bit too much. They're just going to give the Drake away.
I think you just don't throw the game on this one. You lost half your health on the Corki, and some of the health is traded back on the Owner, but he has the Honey Fruit, so he's feeling okay about it. And they don't really have a great Weaver's Wall angle. It's so frustrating for Hanwha because up until that point, they had control of the Dragon, they had vision control, they had what seemed like a potential collapse angle onto Faker, but he played it cool, he played it slow. They were able to wrestle that vision back away and get their first Dragon of the game. They'll also pick up this additional turret here on the bottom side for the Mbessa, who's a full level up on Zeus in this game, has spent a lot more time farming. You can see it in the CS, you can see it in the gold lead. And the game just keeps going. It's still a very close one. And I think T1 played that pretty deftly.
Yeah, just essentially sticking together better as a team from the blue side, able to get control over the river allows you to do that. If they're the ones pushing into the darkness, can be very different. But essentially, it's just a Ocean Drake, a little bit of extra gold onto the Mbessa, who's Doran's doing a great job of pushing that side lane and trying to get even farther ahead. Already up to 2.5 items, whereas Zeus hasn't even finished that Zhonya's second. So feels like a very weak Rumble, all things considered, not really stacking a lot of damage. Is going to survive well, and the comp does have a lot of damage, but I do wonder about his impact as the game comes along and Doran gets even more fed.
I think it's Hanwha, you really need to group and look for picks. And I know that sounds like one of the easiest things that, you know, because anyone could say that. It's a lot tougher to do in practice, but they have a lot of map control on the top side, right? They get that turret out, and essentially if they can play through vision control in any pocket, like for example the control they have over Baron right now, which is the next relevant objective, becomes a little bit more difficult for Faker to farm it up. He is going for that Actualizer third. You can see the chapter in his inventory. It's going to take a little bit longer before he finishes that one. That's going to be such a huge spike for him. The LDR is done for Pays. And if Faker dies in sides before an objective, which with Baron up, like, he can't TP back in, so he has to play this really slowly. And I think that the vision game here for Hanwha Life has been very impressive. They've been able to hold vision on these critical objectives. Now, they gave up control over the Dragon earlier on, and Guma ended up getting chunked out, so it didn't matter, but I'll give them credit where they deserve it. The vision game has been pretty insane.
Yeah, it definitely has been. It's been mostly a fight for vision in this game, to be honest.
I mean, with these two teams, you can really feel the cheaper control wards for the supports. You know, it really feels like that is the main battle, and they're just constantly chucking two in and fighting over every single control ward, as you can see here. And Hanwha Life maintain control with their dive comp here of the Baron.
That's definitely been good plays so far. Faker, nice shout to just back away, but that does mean that HLE are going to be getting even more golds in the side lane. Pays trying to match that in mid as his jungler.
It looks like basically what T1 have decided is they're going to bank this on one big team fight here with Actualizer for Faker. They're just playing it slow. He's farming it out. They're like, we can win this game off one big team fight. We need that third item spike for this Rise. Let's not make any rash decisions. When they group for Baron, we grab a plate here, we grab a plate there inside. Faker gets what minions he can. He can't push up. He doesn't have TP. If he dies, we may lose the game. Does he have the Actualizer now? He just backed. He has it. This is the moment where T1 are ready to fight. Level 16 for this Rise as well. Nearly level 17 is just a few minions away.
Yeah.
He is a huge powerhouse in this game, and will be able to do way more damage throughput than the Talia could ever hope for. So it's a battle of long-term damage versus who gets picked, and Guma's positioning is going to be critical as well. He's got Falcon Flash, 3 items at the ready, almost has his 4th. This Dragon, again, it's just the big tense point. It's Kanavi.
Kanavi's going to send it. Does he have his team with him? He kind of does. Pays is going to get that flash off, though, as he's trying desperately to live, and he does not. As eventually he goes down, Doran exhausted in amongst 3 of them, and he's not going to be able to do much. Kanavi might eventually go down to Faker here, but it looks like HLE are winning this fight. Owner flashing and dying, and Faker the only one who can do damage left in this fight. That's going to do it for that one, as HLE take down 4, and they will take this Baron.
That may have been the game-ending moment, with Faker trying to do what he can at the end of the fight, popping the Actualizer, trying to burn those health bars, but Pays was blown up in an instant. And it doesn't matter if there's no Zonias for Zeus, you know, in these types of situations. Equalizer will be enough. The follow-up for that ult from Kanavi will be enough as he flashes at max range onto FaZe. Caught out once again, just alone. Really nice flank angle he picks up. That's Baron for HLE, and that should be map control for this upcoming Dragon. Timing of this a little bit thin as they're recalling as it spawns, but look at this angle here for Kanavi. Zeka comes in, equalizer follow-up from so far away. The teleport in here for Doran gets into the back line, but there's no damage because the Lucian is dead and Faker's on the other side of the fight. He punishes Kanavi, who wants to come in here with Actualizer and do the damage here. I mean, some of these health bars have been a little bit whittled down, but unfortunately alone, even with Carrier's support, he won't be able to get it done. Great play from Kanavi. They're looking for that Dragon. This is Soul for Hanwha Esports.
I mean, owner, no flash. His spear can't reach from there, so it's just Ocean Soul for HLE on top of the Baron. And that one fight just got them so far ahead. They used the dive onto the Lucian, and T1 assuming they can keep FaZe alive on the Lucian with the Melio. Not against this comp. It's not going to happen. And that just means that HLE are in a very strong position. Now looking to push with this Baron. Looking to go down the bottom lane here. No wall available. Faker up doing the Wolves or something. He doesn't have his TP. He's the only one not here, but they weren't going to defend at this turret regardless.
And Hanwha Esports, I think, are right to not look for a split. Instead, to just group and look for one inhibitor at a time. Even though the inner turret in mid still has 3 plates, still alive, just focus your efforts on one area where you can look for that single target blow up. Say, FaZe, you can't walk up. You have no flash. And this inhibitor is free. Now, Faker is going to be able to get an interim return in mid, but I think that's really the only play for him. So, and in fact, I thought it was lower. He might not even get the whole thing. It is 2026, so he's I guess I will Wolf watch me do this. Let me press all my buttons.
Yeah.
Clear this wave and then do massive damage to the turret. He will ultimately get it looks like here, but it's just not an equivalent exchange on the map. Barely gets it calculated.
Pretty close. I mean, they were definitely considering, yeah, they're going to pull the trigger here as Zeka going to keep him around. Even gets the knockback, and I think Faker going to have to try to realm warp out of this one or just actualize his way out. Nearly kills. No, he gets the kill on a Zeka, and he just barely doesn't get away. As Kanavi gets there and shuts it down, but at least he took one with him.
Yeah, that is going to stifle a little bit of the power here for Hanwha Esports, the remainder of this Baron, but they got what they were really looking for, was that one inhibitor. The composition siege-wise isn't that strong in terms of, you know, clearing waves and then just pushing the turret at range, but it is really great at grouping and looking for kills. Faker just said, I'm not going to have any part of that. We're going to lose that inhibitor no matter what. I'm just going to send it down the mid lane. Gets a kill back, gets the turret the last possible second. FaZe now picks up IE as his 4th item here to match Guma. But the map control is so important, and you know you can look at gold as we'll watch Faker actually real quick. Actualizer on 3, 3rd item, 3rd hotkey. He's gonna press it, and I love how you put this to actualize his way out of here, because that is exactly what happened until he ultimately does go down here. He's out of the realm up for a second, cannot quite get back in.
It was very close too. Like he almost got out of there, but at the end of the day, as you mentioned, it was kind of like little consolation prize for Faker. He gets the inner, he does get a kill on his way out, and yes, he's strong, but it just feels like the 80 carry difference in this one in terms of how fed Guma is and how much protection he has, and it just feels like he can essentially do whatever he wants, because not only do they have a very strong front line, but they also have tons of engage that takes all of the focus off of the Corki.
And if you try to engage as owner onto the Corki, first of all, it's going to require a lot more map control than what they have. But he can just Valkyrie you into the middle of the team. You don't have that same follow-up necessarily with his draft, as Kerry is playing an Enchanter. You have the Ambessa, but this is just so much control over the map, which makes it incredibly difficult to walk out here as T1. They can use these, you know, these buff wards, why the name is Phaelites, yeah, to try to see you, but I mean, they're coming. They know they're coming, but there's nothing they can do to stop the siege. They're like, all right, I can see you're coming, and now
Owner puts up the shield, but again, the CC lasts for too long. He does flash away and actually does live. Lots of damage is going on in, as now Doran accesses the backline, and the follow-up from Faker is right there. They've got FaZe, they have the front line, and HLE are just routed. They go a little bit too deep, trying to kill a Pantheon. And they're going to pay the iron price for it. Kanavi by himself behind everyone. He is absolutely dead. And T1 turned this game on its head.
And Doran actually with the insane play there on the turnaround. The follow-up comes through from Faker. And I said they could see them coming, but there's not much they can do about it. But I suppose if they put everything into that Pantheon and he raises his shield, there is some play there for T1. They defend the inhibitor. They kill 4 for Hanwha Life Esports. And now the vision game is no longer fully theirs. As Owner's the one on the edge here, right? When you see this engage come through, you're like, all right, the Weaver's Wall's coming. And T1's back up. Equalizer's absorbed here by Keria, pretty low value in the grand scheme of things. And then they put everything into this Pantheon. And watch this re-engage from Doran. So much damage goes through, they pop the res. He gets into the back line. Guma gets burst down. And then with the carry showing up, your health bars just go from half to 0. Owner has his ultimate, by the way, still. Not even necessarily really that needed for this cleanup. And Kanavi is just trying to buy space here. Is Guma the only one who lives? But will, not feel great about how that one went. Kanavi going straight down to GA instantly.
Yeah, I mean, you were mentioning how, like, Owner can't just run at Corki and press his stun and win a fight that way. But if they're going deep and they're getting out of position, you've got Ryze, Pantheon, even Keria throwing balls at them. Like, there are ways for T1 to keep you around. This damage onto the Baron is not going to be contestable by T1. So it's just one fight that kind of gets them back in the game a little bit. But HLE are still in control of the map right now. They take the Baron and they're looking at Elder.
Can they try to rush this Elder down or set a trap here? T1 have this little pocket of vision. The control ward on the Elder is actually so valuable because it means Hanwha Life Esports are like, I'm calling your bluff. Like, you're not actually doing Elder. You're just waiting here in the bush. Like, they're 100% aware. And now Zeus actually TPs to it and has a flank angle here for a big equalizer potentially as the rest of Hanwha Life Esports collapse in. Doran does not have TP, so doesn't have his big shield for this fight.
A lot of flashes blown in the last fight. You think about Owner, he's not going to be able to do the same thing. Faker used his. Same on the side of HLE. They don't have it on Kanavi, so maybe a little bit less extension to be able to access a backline with the cease and desist and the rumble on top of it.
Pays has his flash. That's the most important one, I think, that's left available here. T1 are spending a lot of this Baron time of Hanwha just kind of grouping on Elder and taking that prio away. But eventually they will have to pay the piper. Hanwha do get that prio back. And Baron is way less valuable than the Elder buff if they can get it.
Oh, very close actually. Might have forced Owner to shield preemptively.
Every second T1 could buy is huge, but eventually this Elder is started. Their inhibitor respawn. Owner dodges a second shove here, but they're gonna have to roll warp in.
Wait, they're just going in. They're getting a better position actually as a team. The equalizer does an insane amount to Keria, but only Keria Delight is gonna zone them away essentially by himself, and he's Alistair, and the double knockback is gigantic. They have the Elder on top of it. Pays trying desperately to hold on, but it just doesn't look like enough. With Elder Dragon, you have to imagine HLE can end this game.
Pays against the world here. He's gonna attempt the recall, but I don't think this has a happy ending.
There's just no way. He's trying to kite it out, but the burn with the Rumble and the Zhonya's is enough, and it looks like HLE have done it. They will look to push and end game number 1.
Fantastic game of League of Legends between these two teams. Pays caught a few too many times in this one, though, on the Lucian, giving Hanwha Life Esports enough control. We were praising his control of the 2v2, but as you pointed out several times, Guma and Delight handled it really well in this game. And Kanavi ends up finding the right picks at the right time. Faker trying his best to side, got the Ryze online, but HLE will reign supreme here in game number 1.
And a decisive victory at that. Just a couple of team fights go their way. They're able to hold on and get the job done. There was one whoopsie that we,